Today we're wading into conspiracy theorist territory because it's just one of my favorite places to be. So let's start with a fairly mainstream one. Everyone's heard about chemtrails, right? Now, you might be rolling your eyes already, but here's the thing. The idea that the government has sprayed things into our air isn't actually all that far-fetched. Now, they don't call it chemtrails. They call it geoengineering, cloud seeding, solar radiation management, all real scientific fields that involve releasing particles or chemicals into the atmosphere. So no, they might not be called chemtrails, but kind of the same thing, just with cleaner sounding names. But stepping aside what they say that these things are for, what if we just talk about the safety of what's being sprayed? What if what is being sprayed in our skies isn't all that safe for us at all? Think that they would really tell us? Because let's just be real, history shows that our governments don't have the best track record when it comes to that. Let's rewind back to the 1960s and 70s in British Columbia. BC government used herbicides along highways, power lines, and forested areas, including communities, using herbicides that contained similar ingredients, if not the same ingredients, as Agent Orange. Yes, the same Agent Orange that was used in the Vietnam War. Now, the workers were given little to no protective gear, and people who lived by, well, they weren't warned. And soon after, there were reports of birth defects, autoimmune diseases, cancer. And the thing is, these chemicals were known to be toxic. They had been known to be toxic since the 1950s, but the government used them anyways. And it wasn't until decades later, after Freedom of Information requests were filed, documents confirmed that herbicides contained Agent Orange ingredients. So was it incompetence? Negligence? Something more sinister? Either way, they knew the risks and they sprayed anyways. And then there's DDT. In the 1940s and 50s, DDT was known as the miracle chemical. Governments sprayed it everywhere, on crops, in neighborhoods, on people directly, all to keep mosquitoes away. But by the 1960s, scientists knew that it was harmful. Scientists had linked it to reproductive harm, cancer, and even massive wildlife death. And it was finally banned in 1972, but only after decades of exposure. Once again, they knew the harm and they didn't stop. And if that's not enough, let's talk about Operation Sea Spray. In the 1950s, the US Navy literally sprayed aerosolized bacteria over San Francisco to study how a biological attack may spread. The public, they had no idea. They weren't warned, people got sick, and even one person died. And once again, the government didn't admit this for decades. And this one isn't really a question. It wasn't incompetence, it wasn't negligence, it was a deliberate human experimentation on unsuspecting civilians. So back to chemtrails. I'm not saying every line in the sky is something sinister, but history shows that governments and corporations have repeatedly released toxins, chemicals, and even bacteria into communities without disclosure or consent. So is it really crazy to question what's going on up there right now? Because let's just be honest, skepticism isn't paranoia when history shows it's justified.